Welcome back to Transfer Winners and Losers with me and Zachary Jalab. Zachary, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you very much. Had a good weekend.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah, mate. I'm still feeling the effects from Saturday a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Me and Zach went to our first festival in 2 years. Festivals are back open in the UK. Get in there. One thing I'm slightly less happy about that happened this weekend, though, is the news that Jack Grealish is going Man City, Jalab.
Yeah, supposedly he's on the verge of a record-breaking move to Manchester City after the Telegraph reported a bid of £100 million has been sent to Aston Villa. Now Jack Gorgon, I want to kind of pronounce it. Gorgon? I don't quite know. Gorn, there you go, is his surname. Reporter for the Mail believes that figure is actually a secret release clause in Grealish's contract, meaning that it must be accepted and has been if so. However, the Telegraph don't actually mention that release clause, so we're not 100% sure whether it's a fact or not. Either way, every other report suggests that it will be accepted by Villa, and you'd have to think so. £100 million is very hard to decline. Yeah. Grealish returned from holiday last week and was actually pictured doing some light training at the Villa camp over the weekend. He was also taking pictures with fans and maybe possibly saying goodbye to staff. Despite this, he will reportedly sign a 5-year contract with an extra year optional for around £220,000 per week in Manchester. It looks like Villa are already spending some of that money as well, with the club announcing a move for Bayer Leverkusen winger Bailey for £30 million. Now this is a guy as well that was rated at £100 million or £70 million about 3 seasons ago, Leon Bailey. How times have changed. They've also had a bid rejected for James Ward-Prowse of around £25 million, with Southampton wanting closer to £40 million. Now you've got to remember as well, they've already broken the club record deal once this summer, with £35 million being spent on Buendia. And if a £100 million bid goes through for Grealish, I'm sure we'll see some more transfers happen as well. But Joe, talk to me about City.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting summer for Villa at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, but Manchester City, it feels like, in my head, if they spend £100 million on Grealish, surely they're not going to be able to continue to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on players. But, and it's a big but, Tier 1 journalist for Manchester City, Martin Blackburn, has claimed yesterday that even with the £100 million going on Grealish, City can still afford the £150 million it would take to sign Harry Kane. And that's made even better for City fans really today by the fact that Harry Kane has not shown up to Tottenham training, which is huge news. Matt Law reported a couple of months ago that there were rumours around the England camp suggesting that that might well happen. Well, it now has happened. Sky Sports News were reporting this early this morning. Then we saw Fabrizio jump on it. We saw Matt Law again jump on it. Alistair Gold, pretty much all of the Tier 1 journalists for Tottenham Hotspur saying that he should have been back today to train. He hasn't shown up. There were some Tottenham fans saying, oh, well, it's because of COVID tests, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, that's now been disproved. He should have been there. He wants face-to-face talks with Daniel Levy, where he's going to tell him he is desperate to leave the club. He wants out this summer, and what better way than by not showing up to training? The big question, I suppose, is can Man City afford to spend £160 million on Kane and £100 million on Grealish? Because that is a huge amount of outlay. And I suppose the simple answer right now is yes, if you believe some reports. I mean, especially if they sell about £60 million worth of player. Since July 2020, we've seen Leroy Sané go out the door for £54 million, Otamendi for 13, Tosin for 2, Angelino for 16, Jack Harrison for 11, Chema for 7.2. They got the Jadon Sancho sell-on clause at about £10 million. Illich is close to that £5 million move. Yangel Herrera is close to that £15 million move. So they're moving a little bit like Chelsea here. You've seen Chelsea sort of cash in on a lot of their young prospects to cover big transfer fees. And that total of sales at City since July 2020 is now up to £135 million. So if they can sell a Bernardo Silva as well, for instance, who's highly thought of at the club but likely to leave, and take that to closer to £200 million, then you're just looking at sort of a £60–70 million injection from the owners to be able to afford a Harry Kane as well as Jack Grealish. So, as scary as this is, I think it might be financially feasible. I just don't see it happening, Jalab. Do you think they're actually going to get Kane in through the door? Because it feels like Grealish is a done deal. I'm gutted about it, but both of them is just too much to comprehend.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it doesn't. And yeah, as for Harry Kane, I just think the deal's just not going to happen, at least not this summer. As you kind of mentioned, one, the transfer fee, and also just Daniel Levy's just not going to do it. I just don't see him selling it.
Talking to existence.
He may say he has a gentleman's agreement, but at the end of the day, is Daniel Levy just doesn't want to accept the bid. He doesn't have to. And it's on Kane and his representatives, I guess, for signing such a long contract. I mean, I just feel like we're going in circles with Harry Kane now. It's just like, oh, he wants to leave. Daniel Levy doesn't want to sell him. Okay, he's going to talk to Daniel Levy. He then doesn't want to sell him. Yeah, I mean, Jack Grealish going there, fantastic signing. The idea of Harry Kane also going there as well is actually frightening. Yeah, just the Premier League should just step in and be like, look, lads, give the others a chance, please.
100%. Moving on to our winners then of this week's episode, and we've gone for Chelsea, probably because you're on the show, Jalab.
Yeah, maybe indeed. But look, last week Chelsea finally announced their first signing of the window. Now, it wasn't Haaland, but it was Marcus Bettinelli.
He better not be the reason you're in winners, Bettinelli.
No, for sure not. But he's their third choice goalkeeper now. But there was one rumour that actually got a lot of Chelsea fans very excited, as it was revealed that Jules Kounde, a player that the club has been tracking for a few years now, is their #1 target this summer. Kounde has a release clause of around 80 million euros, which is about 68 million pounds in his contract. And Chelsea are trying to offer player plus cash deals as part of negotiations to lower that fee. Now, one of Tuchel's first transfer asks as Chelsea manager was for a new centre-back. Several names have been included and been interested. Kounde was one of them, Nicolas Sula was another, Ibrahim Konaté and Jose Jimenez were all mentioned. Now, obviously, Liverpool have secured Konaté in May, and Jimenez's release clause at Atletico Madrid is more than £100 million, which kind of makes the transfer quite difficult if you don't want to spend that much. Now, initially, they had offered Emerson, the left-back at Chelsea, to Sevilla, which was rejected, even though he has won the Euros, and have now moved on to Kurt Zouma. But where are they at the moment, Thomas?
You're being very positive there. Even though he has won the Euros, you don't get in the Chelsea team. He's
and the Champions League
player.
Boys, scored against Atletico Madrid.
But yeah, they're trying to offer Kurt Zouma, aren't they, as part of this deal? And Sevilla are clearly interested in player plus cash offers this summer. We've already seen Eric Lamela go to Sevilla and Brian Hill plus sort of cash in that deal. So that's obviously a similar sort of structure that Chelsea are trying to manage here. And it might be slightly more complicated than the Eric Lamela deal, mainly because Kurt Zouma is very settled in England. He's very settled in particular in London. He probably doesn't want to have to uproot from London and go over to Sevilla. Obviously, West Ham are also interested in a deal here for about £20-25 million, which would allow Kurt Zouma, of course, to stay in London as well. And if you believe quite a lot of the reports, he tends to favour that move over a move to Sevilla. But look, Chelsea's contractual situation at the back is a little bit reminiscent of Liverpool's going forward, isn't it? Or maybe even a little bit more worrying, because a lot of those defenders at Chelsea, how many is it now, Jalab, have 1 year left on their contract?
Yeah, indeed. Basically, that whole back line that started against the Champions League and was subbed on only have 1 year left. Yeah,
Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Christensen and Azpilicueta all have 1 year left on their contract. Now, some of them are old, and you'd expect that, Thiago Silva, you're not going to give him a long-term contract. But players like Antonio Rudiger were really vital under Thomas Tuchel's how he wanted to play. Still has 1 year left on his contract. Zouma actually has 2 years left on his contract, but he's almost a bit part player under Thomas Tuchel. I think Tuchel's a little bit reticent to use him just because he's not quite as good with his feet as some of the other centre-backs in there. He was kind of a rotation option, wasn't he? He was an unused substitute in the FA Cup, in the Champions League final as well. So I can see Kurt Zouma ending up at West Ham actually here. I think that that's probably the destination that he's going to favour, and then the money being taken from West Ham and that deal and then just being put towards Kounde anyway. So it would be a similar sort of workaround, if you get what I'm trying to say. Because I don't think Chelsea are going to pay the £68 million release clause, and I think Sevilla in the past have been tempted to negotiate down from that release clause. We saw Tottenham Hotspur have an offer accepted on Jules Kounde before the player rejected them. So that kind of tells me that they might be willing to deal more around the £50 million, £55 million fee rather than taking and demanding all £68 million. But nevertheless, I think we can all agree, like, Jules Kounde going to Chelsea would be a phenomenal signing. I mean, how excited has that got you, Jalab, that signing?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere, to be quite honest. Obviously, as you mentioned, there were the rumours about him going to Spurs, and he said he didn't want to go there because he wants to play in the Champions League. And I can't say I've watched him in and out, but I think he is a versatile player. I maybe slightly worry about him in a back four if he was having to play as one of the two centre backs, just because of him being 5'10", and in the Premier League, I can't really think of the last centre back that was that height and performed exceptionally well. But in a back three, I think he's probably one of the perfect players on that right side. As we kind of mentioned, Azpilicueta isn't getting any younger, and as great as he is, and as fit as he seemed to be last season, especially in that back three, you do have to start thinking about the future. And as 22 years old, he has a hell of a future ahead of him. Obviously, he also, as I said, versatile, can play right back if needed. He's kind of like Azpilicueta actually when we signed him from Marseille back in 2012. One other rumour that kind of caught my eye, and we're going to mention it now, Tomlinson. Romelu Lukaku. Yeah. Apparently Chelsea are going to go back in for him. Supposedly, according to The Athletic, they've already actually had 2 bids rejected. What do you make of that?
Yeah, this is a really weird one. The Athletic broke this story this morning that Chelsea have had 2 bids rejected for Romelu Lukaku. Now, Lukaku and Inter Milan have obviously said they're keen to stick together this coming summer, but those financial difficulties remain over in Italy, and we've even seen reports linking Lautaro Martinez with the exit door, maybe even to Arsenal. But they need to shift some players. They need to shift about 15 to 20% of their wage bill still, despite the Achraf Hakimi sale at Inter Milan. And there are some reports, I mean, in this Athletic article here, they say they have a source in Italy that feels like something is being lined up, which will see Lukaku go to Chelsea and Inter sign Duvan Zapata. I can't personally see this deal happening. I think they're probably more happy to lose Lautaro Martinez than Lukaku if you have to sell one of the two. But, I mean, it would be an interesting signing. He's certainly Premier League proven. He would come in and he would score a bag full of goals in that Chelsea team. But it feels like the Chelsea hierarchy might have Haaland next summer more so in their thoughts than spending 100 or 90 million pounds to get Lukaku this summer. That's my thoughts anyway.
Moving on to our losers now, and it's none other than PSG. But why is that, Jay?
Well, there's a number of different reasons really here. Of course, they lost their opening game of the season, the Trophée des Champions versus last season's League and champions Lille yesterday, didn't they? 1-0, so not a great start to the season to Pochettino. It means that PSG's 8-year run of winning that cup is over, and it actually means they're going to start the season without a trophy for the first time since 2012. Obviously, they're usually League and champions, or at very least cup champions, so no trophy so far in there. But it also means that Mauricio Pochettino has now lost 8 of his 35 matches as PSG manager. That's a 23% loss rate. That's the worst of any manager since the Qatari era. Maybe a little bit harsh because we do still love Poch, and he's definitely going to do a madness this summer based on the fact that they have had a sensational summer, quite frankly. You know, Gianluigi Donnarumma, Hakimi, Jorginho Wijnaldum, Sergio Ramos as well. All really good moves. So I am still excited to see how that plays out, because I think the Trophée des Champions, people are going to correct me here, but I think that's basically just the Community Shield, to be totally honest with you. But this also comes off the back of a weekend where Kylian Mbappe to Real Madrid has really picked up some pace. Tier 1 Madrid journalist Jose Felix Diaz, he tweeted, and he doesn't tweet very often, he tweeted saying step by step, then a little plane emoji, then Mbappe, and then obviously football with a stadium. Obviously, I'm just trying to explain emojis here, which sounds ridiculous, but you'll see the tweet on screen. Now, Mbappe's contract is up in 2022. And if you believe the likes of Marca, Madrid are definitely going to try and sign him this summer. They're going to leave it till late in the window, try and get the best possible price, but they are going to go balls to the wall for Mbappe this summer, if you believe reports. So, potentially losing Mbappe, losing a cup final / Community Shield. PSG just have to be the losers, Jalab.
Yeah, if he joins them later this summer, that will be quite frightening. But the game yesterday was also used by a number of PSG fans to protest against the signing of Paul Pogba.
What?
Now, Pogba's representatives, Mino Raiola, is reportedly in talks over a move this summer for around £40 million. But some of the hardcore PSG fans aren't too keen about it. A number of ultras hung up banners at the stadium and around the ground that said, "Pogba, you should listen to your mother. She doesn't want you here, neither do we." Now, the banners are in reference to when Pogba had made a remark in a television interview that he didn't harbour any huge ambitions to play for PSG because he was brought up by parents who preferred Marseille. But you may be asking who put the banners up. Collective Ultras Paris, who are essentially the PSG Ultras, now were quick to make it clear that the banners were not their work and that they actually do not support the message and want Pogba at the club. Now, obviously, PSG fans would love Pogba playing for them and joining the club. So this feels like a small set of the fan base who are trying to make a name for themselves. But Jay, do you actually think Pogba's leaving this summer?
Well, I am extremely worried. I think if it's not going to be this summer, it's going to be free next summer. So, yeah, sadly, I think he's probably seeing his future at PSG right now.
Oh, mate, what a sad end to the video. But that's it. That's winners and losers for you guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, then click the like button. Joe, what else can they watch?
Yeah, come over to Snapchat. Watch us there, talking loads about the transfer window. Hit subscribe whilst you're there as well. I don't know how you do it. I think you like swipe up and then click subscribe. That's usually what we do, isn't it?
You do. And you might as well click subscribe on this channel as well on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
What a terrible end to this video. Jesus. Bye.